Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our online service for the Unitarian Church of Staten Island. Welcome from the comfort of your homes, from wherever you are and however you are feeling this morning. Welcome into this virtual space we share together. I hope you find a way to get comfortable in your own body, to rest and relax and enter into this time of community and connection. I am the Reverend Emily DeTar Birt, speaking live from my apartment in Marble Hill, Manhattan. Excited and grateful to be with all of you this morning. I begin our service today with words from the Reverend Sherry Woodsbury. Out of the din of the city, away from the noise of the crowds, we come to rest in this moment, in this place. Set apart from the never-ending to-do lists, embracing the seventh day, a day of rest, we come to the warmth and stillness of this sacred hour. Remember, you have chosen to be here. Something in your life led you to arrive here now. Whatever tasks and cares await you, now for this brief time, simply rest. Allow your soul to be nurtured. Let the waves in your mind and heart gradually subside as you come home to yourself, holy and whole. Come, let us worship together. I now invite Sarah Rachel to light our chalice.
We light this chalice in the search for truth and the spirit of love. We unite in worship and worship.
And as has been our practice since May of 2020, as an extension of our chalice lighting, I want to take a moment of silence to light these candles for some of the names of those who've been recently affected by police brutality. We know that we cannot cover all of the names of those who've been affected. Shortly, as you'll see on the screen, I will light a candle for the life of Thelonious Rah-Rah McKnight, for the life of Koku Christopher Fianfanu, and for the life of Elijah M. Sow. May these lights be a symbol of our commitment to continue the work of racial justice and to proclaim everywhere that Black Lives Matter. I now invite Kevin Clark to sing us and lead us in our first hymn, which will be "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple." I will be sharing the screen of lyrics, so please keep yourselves muted and sing along from home.
Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love trained to turn, turn will be our delight, till by turning, turning we come round right.
I invite Sarah to introduce our joys and sorrows.
Now is the time in our service for joys and sorrows. If you are visiting with us for the first time, this is a time where you can introduce yourself. We invite you to unmute and say your joy or sorrow, or type your joys and sorrows in the chat box.
Yes, Suzanne.
I'm just sitting here looking at everybody in attendance, and I'm looking, I assume, at Vicky, who's, I realize I've known longer than anybody here. I've known her for 70 years. So I love you, Vicky.
Grateful for chances to reconnect and see each other, and so grateful that you're all here with us online this morning. Thank you. We have a quiet crowd this morning. Any other joys and sorrows that are on your hearts? Yes, Sarah.
My great joy now is that since my daughter and her whole family had COVID and were in pretty bad shape, they're now fine. They're all well now. Daughter's back to work. And my grandkids are back in school.
Yes. Jennifer, if you want to share it aloud, you can. I see that you posted joy for having known true love in my recent history.
Yes, thank you. Yes, joy for
Kathy.
having true love.
I'm sorry. Grateful for having you too, Jennifer. I didn't mean to cut you off. Kathy, I see your hand.
Yes, so my joy is that we are now in sunny Phoenix, visiting with my grandsons and my daughter, and it's nice to see them again.
Ruth.
You're muted, Ruth.
I know. Sorry. Yes, my joy, although it is a mixed blessing, is that my son Christopher had been staying up in Portland to be with Will because of his illness. And he and our cousins put together a little joint venture, and they bought a van like an RV type thing, because Will can't fly because his because of the what am I trying to say? He has anemia, sorry. I kept thinking asthma, but I knew that was wrong. So they did a road trip. They just completed it the other day. They drove down together in the van where Will could be comfortable in the back, because it was all fully, contained, and had a kitchen and a little head, a bathroom. And they drove down from Portland, Oregon, through California and across to New Mexico. I think it took them a few days, and they made it home safely to Santa Fe, which is where they are now. And now Will is under the watchful eye of Mom and Dad.
Grateful for the safe journey. So grateful to hear those things. Nima, I see your hand is raised.
You want me to raise your hand?
Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to let people know that my dad's memorial on Zoom will be on January 23rd at 3:30. If you'd like more information or the ID, please contact me. Thank you.
This way.
Thank you, Nima. I'm grateful that we're going to be able to celebrate and honor the memory of your dad.
Okay, my question is for Ruth. Do you know was it a transit type van? And how many feet was it, do you know? And what kind of gas mileage did it get?
I know is it looked pretty luxurious to me. That's what I know.
Well, we're planning on a road trip in
Oh.
June.
Well,
So,
okay, I'll tell you what, I'll connect you to Christopher, and I have pictures of the van, and I'll let you see what it was, and he can talk to you about cost, and I'll get you guys together.
exactly. Thank you so much, Ruth.
Making connections. Yes, Randy.
You know, I think I might have mentioned that we did the ancestry DNA thing and found some apparently some another branch of the family that we weren't aware of. I just today got another message over Ancestry from another branch of the family asking questions about the connection. So I'm going to respond there and build a family tree from that point.
Wonderful.
Yes, Janet.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi. I just want to say I'm very glad to say that a lot of my friends and family have been healthy and nobody has gotten really sick, except for my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law, who are really sick right now with COVID. But I just find it hard to feel really sorry for them because they never got vaccinated. And, you know, they just kept saying, all these crazy things about the vaccines. And my sister-in-law, she said last summer, or during the summer, when we saw them outside at a barbecue, and her reasoning for not getting vaccinated was, I don't want to die. And I'm like, so now she's sick with the COVID. Well, they're not in the hospital. I mean, they're at home. So they're not like dying or anything, but they're pretty sick as far as I've heard. I haven't spoken to them. But I feel sorry, I feel sorry for them, yet I don't, because they never got the vaccine and they just have all these crazy ideas. And I feel sorry for the people that are just not getting to understand that they need to get vaccinated. And I don't understand the logic behind any of what they say. And
Where do they live?
I just, it's sad. I find it sad. But that's what we're dealing with right now. Anyway, that's it.
It's
I'm
understandable.
holding your sister-in-law and your brother-in-law in our thoughts, and this is hard. It's not easy. It's not easy when, this pandemic continues to be drawn out because of misinformation and contested beliefs around science and medicine and vaccines. And what's so hard is that this is really impacting people who are not, vaccinated, who haven't gotten that chance. And so we are in this hard space of trying to advocate that people get the medical help they need, no matter what their thoughts have been in the past, no matter where they're feeling, while also extending whatever compassion we can to those who are sick and in need. It's hard. Thanks for
we
lifting it
sent
up.
them, we sent them a nice message. Hope you're getting well, and
Yeah.
we sent them a message of, saying hoping you feel better and hoping you get over this. But then, the other part of you is like stupid, they're like stupid. But you don't say that to
What-
them, but
What part of the country are they in?
New Jersey.
Okay.
So, and I find you cannot rationalize to people that think that way. Nothing you could say is going to make a difference. And I have a couple of neighbors who also I know are not vaccinated, or maybe they have since I spoke to them, but they haven't gotten sick. So good for them, But
We hold all of the complexity of this, the complex feelings, we hold all of it in our hearts and breathe into it and give it space, as well as we just continue to try and advocate for the health of everyone. May it be. Anyone else who would like to share in this time of joys and sorrows?
Well, the only one thing I want to add is that I get angry because they live near my 93-year-old mother-in-law, and they've gone to visit her. But luckily, my mother-in-law has gotten her, shots and her booster and everything. So she's been okay. But just the thought that they've gone over there, to visit her, I find, not right. But,
It's hard.
yeah,
Jennifer,
whatever.
I see that you added to our conversation, thank you so much, about how there's all these negative rumors that go around that make it easy for people to so viciously oppose and be concerned for their health. And there's so much history. There's a lot of history when it comes to especially medical racism and hesitancy around vaccines, and all we can do is continue to try to promote people's health, promote the knowledge that we have. I'm grateful, especially in New York City, for nurses and doctors who specifically are people of color who know this history and advocate for the vaccines. So we are doing what we can. Hey, David and Sally, I see your hand is raised as well.
Yeah, I wanted to share a joy that it finally snowed. I feel like we really needed that, and it's beautiful.
I want to share in that joy. I have a neighbor who's from Ohio as well, and the other day invited me literally to frolic in the snow. My wife and I got dressed up in jackets and went out to Inwood Hill Park and just I made a snow angel. It was great. So grateful that snow is here. Maureen.
My hand was raised in error by the computer. I must have moved in a certain way, but I wish you all a lovely day. And I guess my joy is seeing you all and hearing you staying strong and seeing that people are traveling and living, and that is all very good news. So bless you all, many blessings to be with you, and peace.
Many blessings. Thank you, Maureen. Any final joys and sorrows to share this morning? Let us enter into a time of meditation and reflection. O Spirit of life, thank you so much for this opportunity for us to gather together in this way. Albeit how frustrating it may seem to be back on Zoom, it is grateful that we are able to connect with each other. So many thanks to give. Thanks for being able to see familiar faces from around the country and across Staten Island. Thankful for trips to Phoenix. Thankful for the safety of family. Thankful for visits with family members. For birthdays. For opportunities to reflect on the memories of those who've gone before us. We lift up in our hearts those who are sick. No matter the reasons what brought them to be sick, we hope that they get better. We lift up in our hearts those who are in mourning and in grief. And we lift up the realities of the world today. I acknowledge that this being the 9th or few days from the anniversary of the insurrection and all the complexity and complex feelings around democracy, around the state of our union, so to speak, that comes around that, and how precious it is and necessary it is to advocate for democracy. We lift up this surge of COVID, all of the fears and complex feelings that may be coming with this surge of a pandemic we swore was over. And so for all of those things, I'm grateful for the tenacity of this small, fierce congregation that continues to come together. And the tenacity of so many people who continue to find ways to lift up compassion, justice, relationship, and advocating for each other and each other's health. For all of these things and for so much more, we say, thank you. May it be so. And amen. I now invite Sarah Rachel to give our reading this morning.
Morning. Keeping Quiet by the great Chilean poet Pablo Neruda. Now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for a second and not move our arms so much. It would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would not look at his hurt hands. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fires, victories with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade doing nothing. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it is about. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving, and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt the sadness of never understanding ourselves and then threatening ourselves with death. Now I will count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I will go.
May it be so, and amen. I don't exactly know why I keep choosing to preach on topics I'm not qualified to preach about. But I'm going to try to dive into the subject with a great deal of honesty and humility. Because you see, if anyone knows me, they know that I never really want to slow down, and nor do I. I often scurry from task to task. I dive from topic to topic, sometimes in the middle of my own sentences. I can bull past topics. I can spill my thoughts out loud with a lot of to-do lists. Anyone who's ever been on a committee with me, I am so grateful for your patience. I overcommit like it is my job. I'm a fast-moving person with many different tasks and many different hats on. And I know that I'm not alone. I feel like so many people that I know are so busy so often of the time. So many people I know wear many, many hats, take on many, many roles, carry so much in their personal and their professional lives. Whenever I look around, someone is out scurrying around trying to balance something. So given all this, why do I want to preach about slowing down? Because I know I desperately need to. Because I have a question I don't really have advice or an answer for. How? How can we do it? How can I slow down? How do I slow down when I need to pay my bills? When I have to cook to feed myself and my wife? When I have to do the laundry and the dishes that have been stacking up while I've been doing all the other things I'm trying to do? It feels like this relentless push of all the things that have to get done. When I'm caught up in the daily rush of living, I feel like I can't even take the time to come up for air. And in the middle of all of the changes of the past 3 years, even in the times when we're invited to burrow or slow down or quote unquote hibernate, the constant push from our businesses, from our societal pressures or economic forces to continue to just keep going. Just keep going. Just, you know what? Work from home. Work from home while you have a kid in the same house, going to school. Just keep going. Even when you're sick, even when you might expose yourself to COVID, just keep pushing. I look around and I see all of these pushes in this daily life, the speed at which we talk, the speed at which we interact online, the speed of which we're demanded to show up for work. They all add up to a really fast and incredibly busy world. So what can we do to slow it down? Something I very rarely do is journal. I write a lot. I write a sermon every time I have to preach. And usually when I write sermons, I want an endless flow of my thoughts, so I'll type, my fingers moving at the speed of my thoughts. But when I journal, I don't do that. When I journal, I write in cursive. My cursive is not calligraphy. I'm not an artist. If anything, when I write in cursive, it looks exactly like it did in my second grade homework assignment, following the lines of the T's and the Q's. It is quite embarrassing, honestly. But anytime I journal, I write in cursive. Because the actual tactile feel of the pen to the paper, the muscle memory of writing along the lines, it forces me to slow down. My mind will have already had 4 or 5 or 6 thoughts by the time I'm done writing one sentence. So I need to be sure that the sentence I'm writing is actually what I want to say. In those few or rare times when I'm able to write by hand in cursive, it forces me to breathe, to move my body, to commit to the dance of the curved lines, to remember the shape of the letters, to truly think about what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking. I know that there are other things people do to force that kind of embodied slowness, to force yourself to slow down. So for some, it's exercise. Maybe it's dancing. Maybe it's as simple as a breakfast ritual or letting the tea steep or the coffee brew. Whatever it is, I crave it. That intentional, embodied living. Will you help teach me what it is to slow down? I'm genuinely asking here, and I'm going to invite you to unmute and reflect, but I want to open up this time for us to reflect on what actually helps us slow down. Write it in the chat box, unmute yourself, but what helps you?
I would say that the winter weather already accomplishes that for me. It makes me more prone to take naps, especially as it gets cold and the days are gradually getting longer, but when they were getting shorter, I felt like the darkness just made me want to rest.
I hear that.
And I can relate to being, my cursive being from the second grade. Absolutely.
Ruth.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. It's so amazing how sometimes the stars align. I had a recent article that I saw in the New Yorker magazine by Cal Newport, and Cal Newport is he's a computer science expert. He's a professor, and this is a subject he treats all the time in business. It's the business of how we slow down. And I want to just share a little excerpt from this article. It appeared in last week's New Yorker. Some of you may have seen it or read it, but here's what he says. The journalist Carl Honoré, in his 2004 book, In Praise of Slowness, depicts the rise of various slow movements around the world. The phenomenon started in the 1980s with slow food, when a group of local activists reacted to the planned opening of a McDonald's near the Spanish Steps in Rome. A subsequent manifesto rejected the fast life, personified by fast food, and called for a revolution in slowing down that would begin in the kitchen. Let us rediscover the rich varieties and aromas of local cuisine, the manifesto declared. As Honoré documents, this pushback against speed soon moved beyond food. He describes similar movements focused on a variety of topics, from slow cities to slow medicine to slow parenting. Not surprisingly, Honoré dedicates an entire chapter to the part of our lives where too much speed is arguably the most overwhelming, our jobs. Everywhere, and especially in the long hours economies, polls show a yearning to spend less time on the job. He gives the emergent movement an obvious name: slow work. And Cal Newport has a blog, and he talks about this. And I'm just going to tell you one thing that I became aware of in his writing. He wrote something on the tyranny of email. And we can say it's the tyranny of email as well as the tyranny of texting. And you put those two things together, it's not just that I'm getting an email from you. I'm getting everybody's answer to the 4 other people or the 8 other people who were included in that mail. And then they are getting thoughts from the ancillary people who are interested in whatever. And so that's just one, that's just one thing. Then there are I must get 75 to 100 emails a day. And here's the really sad part. It's not spam. It's all stuff that in one way or another, I am either subscribed to or engaged in, including a lot of political stuff. So, part of what I'm doing now about slowing it down in light of the things that Cal Newport has to say is I am slowly going through all of these emails that come in bit by bit, and I am unsubscribing from most of them, just one thing at a time. And that in itself takes a ton of time. But that's neither here nor there. That's one step that I'm doing in you trying to tame the communications that come in and get my mind going in all these different directions. So you look up Cal Newport, and he has a blog. He has a website, of course, but on his website is a wonderful blog where people are writing in and talking about their experiences of slowing it down. And the one guy that I looked at this morning had completely divorced himself for a full year, I think, from social media. An incredible time-wasting, time suck that keeps you piled up with all your other work. And that's everything I have to say. Thank you for letting me share.
Yes, Kathy. You're muted. I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Ruth reminded me of education of children. Because years ago, if your child went to kindergarten, they went in, they learned a little bit, they played a little bit, they had a little nap, and it was a very comforting kind of situation. But now, across the country, children are expected to learn to read by kindergarten. Now, I'm not saying that children can't read by kindergarten, but what I'm saying is that we put so much pressure on children and teachers and parents that children should achieve. And everybody should go to college. And everybody should be able to do such and such at such and such grade. And we test them and we make everybody stressed. And school used to be a fun place. It used to be a place where you explored, where you did some hands-on activities. Teachers don't have time for hands-on activities today. And you have no time for recess, for socialization. Children are lucky if they get a few minutes after they eat lunch to socialize. So I think there's a real problem with that kind of education, truthfully. So it should be a change.
So well said.
Rona and then Christine. Sorry, I seeing the hands.
So hi, hello everyone. It's so good to see you all. When I entered the world of work, written communication was by mail, and then fax, and then email. And it was, in the beginning, if you got a letter, you would have a day to make a letter, to write a letter, to edit the letter, to create this written piece of writing. You might write it longhand and someone would type it for you, because there were secretaries who typed for people. And then faxing, so you get a fax, you get a group fax, you'd learn how to group fax. Everything would be just a smidge faster. email, people would want an immediate response to things that were thoughtful and that would take a day to respond to. But because of the speed of email, it was just so fast. And I remember learning a technique where you would write an email to someone and not put their email address in, so that you wouldn't accidentally send it before you had a chance to read it yourself and send it to them. And it just seemed like the pace of everything went faster and faster and faster. This week was the commemoration of the end of the BlackBerry. I had a BlackBerry. I was a 24/7 worker, and it's the pandemic has taught people to be even more 24/7 workers. And how do you slow down? The only thing that I'm bad at and have found works, but can be done, is listening.
Really listening. That's beautiful. Christine.
Yeah, hi, this is, the topic certainly resonates. And I find that slowing down kind of collides for me with losing time. And, when you get to be, quote, a woman of a certain age, and there's just but so many, days in the week and weeks in the month and month in the year, time becomes a little more precious. And being able to find a way to continue that balance, is an ongoing struggle, which I'm going to guess probably resonates with a lot of folks. So one thing that I do, and I've always been a list maker, so I make lists, and the thing about my lists are they can include the sublime to the mundane, but there's great pleasure in being able to cross out something that's on the list. So it might be, write the Magna Carta, or go take a walk, or make sure I pick up blah, blah from the grocery store. But whatever it is, it goes on the darn list, because then I have the joy of crossing it out, which helps kind of, continue a sense of moving it forward and also staying present and, being in my life, whatever happens to be in my life on that particular day. So those are at least part of the coping mechanisms that I have for the reality that we all face, of how to have a meaningful life and a life of quality that, stays with you, throughout your days.
That's beautiful. And yes, I love crossing things off that list. Whatever it is, just the ability to cross it off. Yes, Janet.
I guess I've been lucky most of my life because I never really felt the need to rush around like a maniac all the time. And I do remember people, friends that were like that always on like a speedy, they was rushing somewhere, or they had to do 100 things. Because I remember specifically going on vacation with and we went to Mexico. And, we didn't know each other that well before we went to, Mexico together, but we had just broken up with guys, and we said, oh, let's go to Mexico. Well, she was really my sister's friend, and we had just kind of met. So we said, oh, let's go to Mexico. So we go to Mexico, but it was really not good. The two of us did not get along because she was always rush, 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 rush. And we couldn't even sit and enjoy my coffee with her. She was like, no, we got to go to the beach. No, we got to go. No, we got to go here. We got to go there. We got to go there. And I finally got to the point where it was like, you go your way and I'll go my way, and we'll meet up in a couple of hours somewhere, because I couldn't take this constant rush, 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 and she didn't want to wait for me to do what I wanted to do. And
yeah,
we did split up, and that kind of worked out for us, because she would rush in wherever she wanted to do, shopping or whatever, and I was able to, do what I want to do at my pace. But I mean, I do get times when I'm overwhelmed, and I have that's when I schedule too many things, coming up all at once, like a doctor or a dentist or something, there's like always something that like you have a plan and then all of a sudden all these other things come up. And then that's when I get overwhelmed. And I have trouble when I get overwhelmed, with all these, that's when I get stressed, when I start I have too much. And then I do make the list, which I find helpful. And then I have to like do something to like narrow what I need to do, because I just can't, it's just too much for me to like, so I'm like, okay, I have to like not do this and not do this. I just can't, do it all. And it's like a mind game that I play with myself. I tell myself, you can't do all this, it's just too much. So then I have to like, then I can slow down a little bit. And that kind of works for me. But
well, thank you so much for sharing, Janet, and thanks for the pace. Yeah, the pace of two people is very, very hard when you're going at a different pace than someone else. I'm gonna have us move on to the next part of our service, understanding that we're gonna be having virtual coffee hour, so I want you to keep sharing. I will lift up that Maureen shared in the comments about this beautiful artist. Sorry, I need to pull up the chat. Julia Cameron's writing, such as The Artist's Way, is a great writing resource and also goes into slowing down. So thank you, Maureen, and thanks for sharing that. I hope you, please, as the service, this next part continues, keep putting in the chat, keep thinking about ways that we slow down together. I want to thank you so much for sharing these practices, these small daily living rituals, because I believe that communities like ours need to cultivate these practices of slowness. I want to remember and recenter in these practices because I'm afraid. I don't believe our world is going to be slowing down anytime soon. And between the growing lack of our attention span, the ways, as we've shared, we are inundated, whether it's with communication, email, text, or with the news, the consistent and constant advertisements everywhere, the economic push to keeping on, getting more work done faster, treating human labor like machinery, our society just continues to speed up. I know I've shared in other sermons and other thoughts the ways that our more professional work environments are requiring between 60 to 70 hours of work, and that's what they consider full-time work. We've shared about the demands of education. We've shared about the demands of communication. I just have this fearful premonition that if large corporations are left to their own devices, every spare moment will soon be accessible by either advertisement or jobs. If the largest, most relaxing part of our day is watching the same screens that we work from, how do we escape? How do we escape the rat race? As I'm saying now, preaching to you on the same screens that you work from. Don't get me wrong, it's not about the screen time. If you watch TV to relax, that's fine. I'm an avid TV watcher myself. It's how do we use this technology to serve us? Is it helping us actually relax? Is it helping us feed our spirit? Or is it continuing that speed? I know for myself, look, I'm answering emails at midnight. Why am I doing that? Why? Why am I answering texts or emails at midnight? That doesn't seem sustainable. How do I get back to embodied living? The feel of my blankets, the cold water as I wash my dishes, the breeze coming from my window, walking outside. How do I invest back into this embodied life and practices and reminders of slowing down? Because these practices of slowness, grounding, and embodiment, this is the heart of spiritual and faith practice. No matter what your spirituality is, humanist, atheist, Buddhist, whatever organized religion you may or may not be part of, all of it comes with embodied practice. As the world grows weary of organized religion and spirituality becomes a buzzword, I am fearful that we're going to be losing that, of a world without slowness. Because I've seen what happens with more shallow attempts at spirituality. Spirituality that is easily manipulated by politics. Spirituality that is eaten up by consumerism and sold like Soul Cycle. I've seen what happens when we forget how to be in the presence just as us as human beings, how to meditate, how to bake, how to sing together or write in cursive. When the world no longer feels that spirituality is necessary, that being present is necessary, what will happen to the human spirit? Unitarian Universalism is, well, an organized religion. We might not be in the traditional sense. We don't have a creed. We don't have a litmus test for membership, and we don't really evangelize. But we are communities who organize each other, who embody theologically grounded principles and questions. We encourage each other to spiritually grow. As I know Dave Michaels just led in our fireside chat around our third principle, the acceptance of one another, the encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. The statement, if we take it seriously, means an investment in time, an intentional pause, an awareness of the self, and a commitment to the journey of growing that awareness. Or as the union statement of my home congregation, East Shore, would say, quote, not to think alike, but to walk together. To make spiritual growth a priority means re-entering our bodies, investing in ourselves and others, and learning what it means to pause. I care about this spiritual growth, not as some individualistic endeavor, but as a communal human response to being alive and being mortal, having to die. I care about the spirit of my friends and family in 2022 in a world such as this, because I want to help invest in systems that protect us from systems that may deem our human ability to wonder, to love, to pause, to care as unnecessary or irrelevant. At the end of all things, it's how we help each other understand the preciousness of this one life that helps us make a compassionate and just future. Just as our poet Pablo Neruda said in this beautiful poem, Keeping Quiet, quote, if we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving, and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt the sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Perhaps the earth can teach us, as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. These words actually remind me of a Netflix movie that's all the rage right now, Don't Look Up. An apocalyptic film where a number of people are too busy going around the business to actually admit the truth of what is happening. I'm trying not to spoil anything, which is why I'm intentionally being vague, but towards the end of the film, you know what gets talked about? The way someone brews their tea. The way someone liked their coffee. Love and relationships as they all prepare for something that's coming. These are the things that are deemed worthy of final words. Not their work, not how many people they emailed, not the efforts of constantly trying to bring around change. No. The way they made their tea, holding the hand of the person they love. Do you understand what I'm trying to get at here? I want to live in a world where slowness exists, where walks or meditative breaths, where noticing things, where just taking the time to make breakfast is not charged with this mental break of how fast can you get it done, or you're lazy if it takes too much time, or why are you resting? Where we share respect and wisdom for slowness, where we can appreciate life as we live it. I want to join a community like this, where we try to build a world we can notice together and appreciate life as we live it. I don't want to live my life and at the end of it, look back and wondered if I could have noticed it while living it. I instead want to build these practices into the ongoing beauty and wonder and messy busyness of life. I want to notice the taste of honey in my hot water, the feel of cement on my sidewalk, the knowledge of just how many people have gone before me to make me possible. I want to witness the mystery and miracle of molecules, the grace and wonder of the love I receive from so many people, to see life as it is. I don't really know how. I'm gonna try to slow down. I know that I want to and I need to, and I know that this faith is charging me to do that. But maybe I can do that with your help. Maybe we do this thing together we do every week because we remind each other about the preciousness of life. Because maybe together we can grasp a few moments of slowness and remember the wonder of what it means to be alive. So as Pablo Neruda said, now I'll count up to 12, and you keep quiet, and I will go. May it be so, and amen. Our service is running a little long today. I'm going to invite us for our offertory. Mike will put the lyrics in the chat. Sarah, I'm just going to skip over your words for this. And Kevin will go ahead and sing our offertory. Or share our offertory.
Slow down, you move too fast. You gotta make the morning last. Just kicking down the cobblestones, looking for fun and feeling groovy. Hello, lamppost, what you knowin'? I've got to watch your flowers growing. Ain't you got no rhymes for me? Do-do-do, feeling groovy. Got no deeds to do, no promises to keep. I'm dappled and drowsy and ready to sleep. Let the morning time drop all its petals on me. Life, I love you, all is groovy.
Thank you so much. I now invite Kevin to continue with our closing hymn, From All the Fret and Fever of the Day. I'm going to share the lyrics on our screen so that you can all sing along. Please stay muted so you can.
From all the fret and fever of the day, let there be moments when we turn away and deaf just then. Bring richer meaning to the world again.
We now invite Sarah Rachel to extinguish our chalice this morning.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of commitment or the fire of, the warmth of community or the fire of commitment. For these we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
To rest, to slow down, it's not a luxury. It is a necessity. To pause isn't a fantasy. It's simply a part of our living. May we together help each other slow down and notice this one wild and precious life, counting to 12 together. May it be so, and amen.